HowExpert! Top 10 Poetry Writing Tips. HowExpert publishes quick how-to guides on all topics from A to Z by everyday experts. Visit HowExpert.com to learn more. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more HowExpert Top 10 videos in the future. Moving on, let's talk about the HowExpert Top 10 Poetry Writing Tips. Number 10. Read. Read, read, read. Every time you read a poem or a poetry book, the sound and format gets tucked inside your memory. For example, read Atticus or Fitzgerald every day for 1 week. At the end of that week, you will begin to understand the style of poetry that particular poet uses throughout. If you find you connect with that style of poetry, simply study it. Read more. As you study the style, you will see that particular poet's pattern. Try and mimic it. If it doesn't suit you, move on to another poet. Continue this practice until you find one that flows easily for you. Remember, you aren't trying to copy the poet, just the style in which the poet writes. When you're a beginner, research is your best friend. Number 9. Practice. When you find the style of poetry you feel comfortable writing in, whether it's sonnets, prose, rhythmic, etc., dedicate an hour every day practicing the style with different words, mixed with similes and metaphors. Metaphors are the backbone of any great poem. For example, the calm lake was a mirror. Learning how to use metaphors and similes is imperative when writing most types of poetry. Number 8. Start simple. Free verse is the first official step in poetry writing. Think Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. Free verse is void of structure and not typically bound by rhyme scheme or specific meter. Basically, write it all out. Don't get hung up on the technicalities of it all. While researching different styles, it is very easy to get caught up in the definitions of poetry styles. You will write nothing and develop a migraine trying to keep up. Keep in mind, poetry is one of the oldest forms of writing. It is by nature complicated. Don't let that keep you from writing. Just write and define it later. Number 7. Use the thesaurus. The thesaurus is key, your coworker, and sometimes your saving grace. Use it. When you have written 10 ways to say sorry, you can find the 11th way in just a click. Don't sell yourself short. Use the dictionary as much as possible, too. You will be shocked to find how many ways there are to describe a leaf falling from a tree. I'll tell you, there are more ways than you could ever imagine. Never limit your writing ability to your educational background. Just go look it up. Number 6. Talk to other poets. Join a poetry community. Try murky.com, writersroom.org. You will find you are not the only rookie poet trying to figure this whole thing out. It also allows you to see how other writers are doing. Ask advice from vets and even editors. It's a true lifeline when you become discouraged or confused. Number 5. Relax. The poetry community is fairly lax when it comes to new writers. The rules are only used when submitting poems to exact meter publishers. Most of the people reading your poetry online through social media or elsewhere have no idea what a meter even is. Side note, research what poetry meter scale is. You'll need to know that further on in your career. Number 4. Edit. Edit, edit, edit. Make sure your words are spelled correctly and the sentence structure is sound. You never want a sloppy poem. So if you're writing an acrostic style, name poem, make sure every new sentence begins with the next letter in the name. For quick reference, check out Edgar Allan Poe, specifically his Elizabeth poem. If you're writing a narrative poem, this style tells a story. Make sure every new sentence begins a new line, or the poem tends to drag and not make sense. Number 3. Communication. Communicating emotions or stories in a rhythmic style or meter, how the structure in a poem is found, again, sounds confusing and can be. While trying to write a verse or create a specific sound to your story, you can get lost in too many words. Just like a conversation, you want to be clear. Example, the tree has 4 yellow leaves. One by one, They float carefully down the riverside. Winter is on its way. No need for any more detail. This aphastric poem, describing something, paints you a picture of the atmosphere without adding information. If you were to add big to the tree or officially on its way, it crowds the statement. When someone tells a story with 2 or 3 sub-stories before they get to the point, it's annoying and honestly boring to the listener. So keep it simple. Leave it to your metaphors, wordplay, and similes to enhance the theme. Number 2. Avoid sentimentality. I can preach till I am blue in the face on this point. Sentimentality is simply put, whining. And just like real life, no one wants to read or listen to whining. Shakespeare is to blame for sonnet after sonnet of lost love. No disrespect to Shakespeare, of course, but sad and sappy lines with this same description of loss will lose viewers and readers fast. Instead, turn a feeling into a sword. That heartbreak can become artificial, and readers will eventually rebel if they feel an emotion is being forced. Example, my heart was broken into a million pieces today. Versus, today I felt my ribs crack around my broken heart. Be powerful with your words. Allow them to capture a specific feeling instead of a generic version of that moment. Number 1. Create magic. Throughout history, poetry has been an outlet for creativity. It stimulates our senses and fills us with imagination. To be a true poet, you must become a painter with words, incorporating all senses: sight, hearing, smell, touch, taste, even motion. Master the senses. Master the craft. When constructing a poem, no matter what the style, you want to be able to transport the reader to the world you have created. Remember, poetry isn't always about what hurt you, but what makes you feel alive. You want to make the reader feel something other than your pain. It must be felt on a universal scale. That's how you know you are a poet. Good luck! If you liked our video, be sure to click like and subscribe for more HowExpert Top 10 videos from all topics from A to Z in the future. Also, let us know what other topics you want us to do a HowExpert Top 10 video in the future in the comments below. Thank you, have an amazing day, and take care. HowExpert publishes quick how-to guides on all topics from A to Z by everyday experts. Visit HowExpert.com to learn more.